Hello, my name is Jackie, and I want to share today a little bit of what I personally think, what it's like as an American living in Germany. So today I want to go over my likes, my dislikes, in different categories, like maybe talk about the food and the culture and different things like that. So back in September of 2022, I got married to a German. He's sitting over there, so if you see me looking over there, that's why. But I've been living in Germany since July of 2022, so not quite a year yet. So that's a little bit of background. When I first moved to Germany, it was exciting, but quickly I realized it was going to be difficult. I really dealt with a lot of homesickness, and it almost made me a little hostile to Germany, which isn't fair, but that was just my personal reaction. And I was just missing home a lot. I was even missing American culture. So we'll start a little bit with that. I'll go ahead and just talk about the cultural differences that I've noticed. So please keep in mind that this is all my personal opinion. This is not truth. This is just what I went through on a personal level. So culturally, at first, it was very difficult. At least where I live in Germany, the area, I think that it's just a little bit more quiet. People don't really, unless you really know someone, people aren't really just talking to each other, or, because in America, people will, like, complete strangers will say hello to you and will start a conversation with you. And when I first moved to Germany, I perceived that as more of a warm type of situation, like a nicer situation than what it was here. And so at first I felt like Germany was very cold, was very, people didn't really communicate with each other. And that's not true. I will say that compared to what I was going through when I first moved to Germany, and what I feel now, those are very different things. And I will also say that I do struggle sometimes, occasionally, with things still. So, but yeah, it just felt a little bit more cold. So it was a little bit harder for me to adjust. And then of course the language. So I might go into another video talking about how my husband and I met. But just to keep it kind of short, I started out very interested in the German language. And so my husband actually, when we first started talking, we were kind of just talking about the language and the culture, because I've always been interested in the German language and the culture and the history and everything. So I actually have been dealing with the language for a while now, but I'm still, to this day, I'm really not confident using the language. I understand a lot of German, I feel like. But if it comes to talking, I get I have zero confidence. So it's very difficult. But I'm trying, but I will say the motivation for me has been really hard. So, to make that shorter, the language is a little bit hard to constantly be hearing a different language all the time. Now, my husband primarily speaks English to me. But hearing a different language all the time, I don't want to say I felt isolated, but I felt very, I don't know, it just felt a little bit difficult, when you constantly don't understand what other people are saying. The good thing about Germany is that most Germans do know English, but of course my goal was to learn the language, and I want to be able to speak to everyone and communicate with people in their language because I'm living in Germany. So but yeah, the motivation is definitely difficult. So that makes it a little hard too. And yeah, it's just different. I had to really learn that it doesn't, what I thought to be coldness and things like that, that doesn't make this situation bad here compared to America. I think that, and that's something I really struggled with, is that I had to stop comparing America to Germany. It's just different. It's not bad. And now at this point, I'm so used to the culture and how things work here that I'm starting to like it more in a way. I still love my home, but I'm starting to, enjoy that it's a little bit quieter, that life is a little bit not as chaotic as it is. So I'm actually originally from Virginia. So of course I also can't speak for the whole entire United States. But yeah, just back there was just a little bit louder, a little more chaotic, everything. So I do appreciate that about Germany. So anyways, another thing I really like about Germany is how people drive. So I feel like people in Germany drive a lot safer. And I'm sure, everywhere in the world there are people that drive crazy and chaotic and aggressively, but at least where I'm from in Virginia, it's just chaos all the time. People will basically run you off the road. Nobody has patience. And of course, I'm not speaking for everyone, but that's how it feels on the road a lot. In Germany, even, on the Autobahn, how you can drive fast, there's no speed limit in some areas. People really drive safely, even if they're driving at high speeds, from what I've seen and what I've noticed. They're not going to run you down in the road. Even if you're in the left-hand lane, they're not going to run into your bumper and try to run you off the road. People are relatively safe, and I think that's also another good thing about the culture that I personally notice, is that people really look out for each other overall. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but it's more of a culture where they don't mind sacrificing a little for the greater good. Whereas I think back home in the US, people are a little bit more self-involved. I don't want to talk badly about the US either. Like I said, I like both places. But I think it's just more people don't think about the bigger picture back home. And it's more about like, well, I work hard for this, this, and this, so I shouldn't have to pay this or pay that, or, to help for the greater good. I don't know. But Germany's a little bit more good about that and a little bit more caring about each other in that way. And the fact that the culture is quiet, at least where the area I'm from, I think that's a good thing, because people aren't constantly trying to be in your business. So I think with the Germans, it's more, they don't want to, I don't know, they don't want to bother you. I think that's really what it comes down to. In a way, they don't want to be in your way. So that will lead me kind of slowly into like shopping. So for example, if you go into a store in Germany, you are not going to be approached, for the most part, at least I've never been, you will not be approached by someone who works there. So like in the US, if you go into a store, usually the person will come up to you and they'll say, the person working there, and they'll say, what kind of sales they're having, and if you need any help, they'll be there for you. And in Germany, you just kind of walk into a store and you're on your own. And it's not a bad thing. At first, I was like, does anybody work here? Does anybody, but it's just different, But now I kind of like that, because I can walk into a store and I can just browse and I'm not being approached by anyone. I'm also more introverted, so I think that works for my personality type. But sometimes it can be a little, I don't want to say annoying, but it can kind of be. So for example, the other day we were in a store and we go up to the cash register in Germany, and we're just standing there and standing there and standing there, and no one is very like reactive. No one's, in America, because I've worked in retail in the US, I mean, you had to be there. You had to run up, stop what you're doing, run up and help the person right away. Say, hi, how are you? Did you find everything okay? In Germany, you're not going to get that. No one is in a rush to check you out. You sit there and you wait. And I mean, it's not, I don't want to equate that to rudeness. It's really not. I used to think that when I first moved to Germany, I was like, oh my goodness, you know, all the time I was like, this is so rude. Why doesn't customer service matter in Germany? But that's not what it is at all. They don't make people, you know, they don't make people kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like kind of worship the customers in a way. Whereas in the US, I feel like that's really kind of how it is. The customer is always right. In Germany, that's not the situation. And if someone is having a bad day at work, they're not going to pretend to be happy to help you or see you. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know? So, but at first I was really like, that's a little strange, but okay. So I also want to talk about a few of the stores that I really like in Germany, because when I first moved here, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be living without Target. Target is a really popular department store in the US, and they have, you know, they're really popular for their clothing, shoes, accessories. They usually have a Starbucks inside. They have a grocery store inside. So I was missing Target, okay? So I found a store, at least clothing-wise, that is really good, and that's C und A, which is C and A in English. And they have a lot of good clothes. So a lot of the clothing there, I think, is very similar to Target. And I buy a lot of my clothes from there now. They have very similar prices to Target as well. So I highly recommend that. I don't really shop at H&M, which in German is H&M. That's actually a German store, but I feel like I'm at the age now where it's a little bit difficult for me. I can't wear clothes that are very young, but I also don't want to wear clothes that are too mature for me. So C und A is a good one. I also really like Kick. Kick has, I don't know really what to compare it to in the US. Maybe kind of like a Big Lots, but smaller, and also not quite like a Big Lots, but it's similar because they have clothing, they have home decor, they have a stationery section, they sell all kinds of stuff, home goods, everything. But the prices are what I would consider cheap. So I really love Kick. And Action is the same. Action is another German store that I go to a lot. And again, they have more cheaper things. And I don't know what to compare that to either. Maybe to a Big Lots or like a nicer version of a Dollar General. I don't know. It's hard to say, but they have a lot of, I would say, cheaper options like home goods, cleaning supplies. They have, you know, pieces of like small furniture and everything. Everything is in that store. I don't think Action sells, they sell some clothes, but not really, like I would not buy clothes from there probably, but they do sell things like that. But yeah, it's very, the customer service thing is very different, I think, compared to the US. And like I said, it's something that you get used to, and it's really not a big deal once you're used to it. So for example, when we go to the grocery store, which usually we go to Lidl, which is also in the US, so you're probably familiar, or Aldi. And I remember the first time I was at the grocery store, the person checking us out was just, I'm not even lying, I'm not even kidding, just kind of like throwing the items at us. And if you are not there to take care of your items, they do not, like, they are not worried about it. They will just throw it over there, and you better hope you're there to catch it before it falls on the floor, because they, which at first I was like, what, like, this is crazy, oh my god, you know, I was making such a big deal about it, but again, it's not a big deal, just grab your stuff and go. In Germany, they do not do plastic bags either, so you can sometimes ask for a bag if you need one, But most Germans, I think, bring their own bags for shopping, or they'll bring, a lot of Germans use these like plastic totes or crates when they go grocery shopping, especially, so that when they have all their stuff in their cart, they bring it out to the car and they just put it all into this like box, this crate. And that's actually kind of smart, I think, because actually it makes it easier to carry your groceries in, and then you can just put everything away. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, of course, at first I thought that was a little strange, but actually it's not. And if anything, it's probably a good thing that they don't use so many plastic bags. So, and, oh, another thing that I noticed is that, so I always loved using self-checkout back home. Germans do not like that concept, at least as far as I've personally seen. Now we have been to Kaufland, Kaufland is like, it's kind of like a department store too, which also has, a grocery store in it, but then it also, you know, just has everything else you can think of, but, not like at Target's level, not even at Walmart's level. So, but it's still good. Kaufland is still good. But they do have a self-checkout section, and I'm like, people will wait so long in the regular checkout lines instead of just using self-checkout. And I'm like, why? I was asking my husband, I'm like, why is no one using self-checkout? It's so much faster. And so that's something I've kind of noticed, is that at least I feel like the Germans don't really care for too much change. What we would say in English is don't fix what ain't broke. And I really think that's a motto that should be in Germany, because people, if it's been working for years and years and years, just keep it the same. Don't change it. Don't, you know. So yeah, but we have started using self-checkout because in some cases, not all the time though, so not every place has self-checkout. So for example, Kaufland has self-checkout, but Lidl and Aldi typically do not. So, but you don't really need it, because it does go by so fast, because everyone's throwing the groceries at you. So it goes by so fast, it's not even that necessary. Another thing I noticed, especially when we're at the grocery store, this still burns me up inside a little bit, because I'm not quite used to it. I mean, I'm used to it. I am used to it, but it's a little bit like, come on now. So in America, if you have cashiers at the cash register, right, and they're ringing people up and the lines are getting super long, they'll open up another cash register, like another line, and then they'll say, I can help the next person over here. So the next person that's in one of these lines will go over to the other line. Not in Germany. When they open up another register, this is what happens. Everybody hightails it over to the other register, and they don't care who's next. The guy waiting 20 places back in line, if he's there first at the other register, then he's there first. And that's the rules, and it's very stressful. And typically, my husband and I just stay in the line we're in. That's not always true, because since he's used to this, sometimes he'll just like take his cart over to the next line, and I'm like, this person in front of us is next. But you know, that's the way it is. It's totally normal for the Germans, so just let it happen. Just you get used to it and it's fine. I just follow behind my husband and just don't blame me. I'm just following him. So but it's totally normal and it's kind of funny. What else do I want to talk about? Food. Okay, I'm just gonna do a slow clap for German food, because I love German food. Coming from America, I'm sure everyone is very aware that we are a fast food nation. Okay, we like greasy, unhealthy, oily food, especially where I'm from. So like, I'm from Virginia, so I like my biscuits, I like my bacon and my pancakes and fried chicken and all of that, and it's horrible, but you know, it is what it is. I still love it. But Germany just has so many fresh, healthy options for food. Now, don't get me wrong, they can be unhealthy too, and they like their, you know, their Kuchen, which is cake, and they like their little Teilchen, which are like pastries and things like that. But even the cake and the pastries, I think, are not as packed with, you know, sugar and all this stuff like what we do back home. And of course, you know, people are healthy in America too. There are healthy food options too, but there are so much more, so many more unhealthy options in America. So at least in my opinion. So, but yeah, so I love German food. My favorite food is Brötchen, okay? Which is like this little bread. They look like little rolls. And they come in different varieties. So my favorite is Körnerbrötchen, which is like, it's like a wheat grain type of roll, okay? But my husband likes the Normalis Brötchen, which is just normal, like a white bread roll. And I'm telling you, I used to think that we would have something similar to that in the US. We do not. It is like the most perfect roll. So the outside is always like, it has this nice crunch, and the inside of the bread is softer, but it's very special, okay? And so we get our Brötchen frozen. They come in a bag, and they come with, you know, the Brötchen, and you can buy what type you want. And then we stick ours in the oven for 15 minutes on 150 degrees Celsius. That bakes them perfectly. And then my absolute favorite toppings on my Brötchen, which before I moved to Germany, I never thought that I would like this, is Fleischsalat, which is in English meat salad, basically, and Zwiebelmettwurst, which is, this is how I, this is how I describe it. I describe it as like a spreadable meat, which before I moved to Germany and tried that, I thought that sounded disgusting. I'm like, why are you guys eating raw spreadable meat? But no, you need to try it and get the paprika kind because it's delicious. So I have that every single morning for breakfast. And that's another thing cool about Germany. They do these like open sandwiches. So on one bread, you can have one topping, and on the other one, you have your other topping. So, yeah, it's delicious. And if I have a picture of that, I'll share that really quick because I think I took a picture of my breakfast recently. It's very good. But anyway, so get yourself the frozen Brötchen. Highly recommend. Now, of course, the stereotype about Germany is all they eat are like sausages and pretzels and blah, blah, blah. So I'm sorry to say, but the sausages, that is true. They love their sausage. They have all kinds of sausage everywhere. Bratwurst is probably the most popular. Anywhere you go, if you're going to a soccer game, if you're going to the fair, if you're going anywhere, they're going to have, if you're going to, you know, Kaufland, and they have these little trucks outside with the bratwurst and a Brötchen, and yes, okay, at first I loved that a lot, but after having it all the time on a daily basis, it's like, okay, that's enough sausage for now. I need to take a break. Yeah, it's a lot, but it is very good. And then they also have currywurst, which is, how would I explain that? It's like a curry sauce. It has basically a chopped up sausage or chopped up bratwurst, right? Mm-hmm. And you usually get French fries with it. And I used to love that too, but after having it so much, I needed a break. So I haven't had it in a long time, but it is good. Another thing that the Germans like to do is to dip their French fries in mayonnaise. And before I tried that, I was like, oh, that's weird. Why you use ketchup? That's strange. But now I basically only eat French fries with mayonnaise. So it's really good. So a lot of things I've kind of switched over to liking better over here. But yeah, the food is very good. The only downside I would say to Germany is that, compared to the US at least, is that there's not much food diversity. So for example, I've been craving Mexican food, but you really can't find Mexican food, at least around where I'm from, or where I'm living at in Germany. It's just, you can't really find it. And if you do, it's not very good. So, so that's an issue. And it just seems like every restaurant ever has the same menu. So at least it feels like that to me. So, you know, but luckily we did find a sushi place nearby that was really, really good. So that's a great thing. But yeah, if you want Mexican, if you want anything else, you're probably not going to find it. And that's why I don't even really care for going out much anymore like I used to go out to eat, because every restaurant is like schnitzel, schnitzel. Everywhere you go, all they have is schnitzel, and like they'll have a schnitzel section of the menu and it's just like schnitzel with different toppings, you know, you get like I like the Jaeger schnitzel, which comes with, it's like a mushroom sauce. My husband likes, which one do you like? The regular one?
Pepper sauce.
With the pepper sauce, which is also, it's good. I love schnitzel, but I don't want it every time I go somewhere. And sometimes, you know, that's the best thing you can get from the menu. So yeah, but no, but I do love German food. German beer is very good. And cheaper. Yes. Oh my goodness. So the beer in Germany is so cheap. When you go out to eat at a restaurant, you will pay the same amount for a beer that you would pay for a Coke, that you would pay for a water, because water is not free in Germany. They will not give you water from the tap, as far as I know. If you want a water, okay, sorry. If you want a water, you get a bottle that's about this big, okay? Like 2 sips and it's gone. And you pour that into your glass and that's your water, okay? And Germans don't really like ice cubes, so that's not really a thing here either. But America, we love our ice cubes. I like a nice ice cold drink. Germans will just drink their soda, no ice. And they also tend to like sparkling water more than they like still water. So I'm a type of person that if I'm gonna have water at a restaurant, I want still water, I want a lemon slice, and I want ice cubes, but that's not really a thing. Also, sometimes they'll put a lemon slice in your Coke. I don't understand that yet. That doesn't taste good to me, but you know, whatever, if you like it, you like it. So that's good. But yeah, everything is just smaller here too, you know, like when you go to a restaurant, you're not going to get, you know, in America, we get like these big cups and, you know, ice and free refills and all of that. No, 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 not in Germany. You'll get a tiny little cup, typically no ice unless you specifically ask for it. And it's Eiswürfel if you ever need to ask for ice cubes. And yeah, it's just, everything's a little bit smaller, but it's really not a big deal, because I feel like so much more in Germany is affordable compared to the United States. So yes, when you go to a restaurant, you might get a water for free, but everything else around you is 10 times more expensive than it is here, you know, and that's from the groceries to rent. So you kind of, everywhere you go, there's a little give and take, and that's something I've had to learn along the way. Okay, sorry about that, the doorbell rang. So let's go back to, I don't remember what I was talking about, to be honest. I think about the food, but I'll basically wrap that up. I love German food. And oh, the one other thing I wanted to talk about, which again is just a personal thing. Back home, I really like breweries, where basically there will just be, you know, like a place where you can go. It's kind of like a restaurant and a bar, or what you would in Germany you would consider that a Kneipe. Where they brew their own beer on site. So it's not like in Germany where there's like a factory that produces like Pilsner, you know, the type of beer. And then it's just basically specific restaurants will serve that, you know, brand of beer or what have you. So yeah, in America, we have breweries where the place will brew their own beer and it will be their own kind of recipe, their own version of a Pilsner, for example. And I really enjoyed that. I had one back home that I really love, that it was just a nice place to go. And it wasn't like a bar scene. It was more where people could go with families and all of that, and your friends, and just kind of catch up and enjoy, you know, spending time and having a nice drink. And yeah, that's not really a thing here in Germany. So, but nonetheless, the beer here is good. So I'm not complaining. So moving on, I have a list here. So that's why I keep looking down. Another thing I really like about Germany is the safety. I feel, as a woman here, I feel very safe. There's really not a lot of crime, like serious crime that happens here. Of course, you know, back in the US, we have an issue with, you know, guns and things like that, and it's really bad. So here in Germany, I really appreciate that that is not something that I have to worry about, or that people in general really have to worry about. Of course, it is a possibility that that type of violence can still happen, but it's much more rare here. So if it really happens at all, it's very rare. So I feel like, you know, as a woman, or just as a person, I can just go out for a walk by myself and I don't think I'll have any issues. So yeah, it's kind of nice. It's kind of feels a little bit more free and a little bit more, you know, just feels comfortable. You know, you feel good living here, and when you feel safer and everything.
Children are outside, children are riding the bus.
Yeah, so children, that's another kind of crazy thing, is kids, you'll just see them riding their bikes to school by themselves, and they're like under the age of 10. And I remember when I first saw that, I'm like, what is going on here? Why are these children traveling alone? Someone could kidnap them and pick them up. And, you know, I still feel like anywhere in the world, that's a possibility. I don't think that Germany has this special, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like this protection, this force field of protection where stuff like that doesn't happen. Bad things happen everywhere, you know? But yeah, that's really normal for German kids. They take themselves to school. Now, if they're younger, usually I'll see a mom or a dad riding the bike with them or even driving them. But for the most part, it's normal to just go to school by yourself. Also, it's not quite like America. They have, the children usually can utilize just the regular public buses to get to school. So it's not like in America, we have these yellow school buses that are specific for picking up children and taking them to their school. No, this is just public transportation that the children can utilize, and they know how to do it. So I always joke that German children are like mini adults because they're so funny. They're so mature. They know how to get around. They know how to ride their little bikes everywhere, and it's very adorable. So I'm always very impressed. Huh?
You're worried about them on our playgrounds.
Yeah, it's another thing. Sorry, my husband keeps reminding me of things. So the playgrounds here are very intense, I think, for children. So in America, yeah, you have like, you know, your standard playground, slides, swings, you know, things they can climb on, stuff like that, but nothing too intense. In Germany, you have these like, what is that even? I can't remember what that's even called in English. They're like these like structures that you can climb on. But in Germany, they are like crazy contraption, like ropes and everything going every which way that they can climb. And I'm just thinking in my mind, what if a child falls and gets just like trapped in there or something? But no, German children know what they're doing, okay? They know how to play on these things. They know how to be safe. I don't know. It's so cute. But yeah, I think it's just different. You know, they're taught at a young age here how to kind of have independence, I think. I don't know for sure. It's different. You know, I'm not a parent myself. I don't know what it's like to raise kids, but yeah, they just, at least from what I see, because compared to the US, like, it's a little bit different. You know, I think children appear at least to be more well-behaved here. And it could just be just a cultural difference, or just, you know, I don't know. It could be other factors that, that have an influence over that, but it's definitely interesting. That's all I have to say. So, so I also wanted to go, I talked already a little bit about the language situation. I wanted to talk about I guess we'll talk about work-life balance because that kind of leads into, you know, your regular life here in Germany. So unfortunately, I have been applying a lot for jobs. I haven't been lucky yet. There is one job that I'm hoping will follow up with me again. I had to send them some additional information, so I'm hoping that means that they're interested in me. But anyways, but yeah, work-life balance. That was actually a big pull for me to eventually move to Germany because back home, I was working for a major insurance company, and I was working at that time in our internet department. So I was dealing a lot with basically customer service. It was basically a customer service position. I was a licensed insurance agent, so I was dealing with a lot of different things. But of course, I was dealing with the general public, not just emails, but just everything. That included, you know, having to call people if I had to. And it was a lot. You know, in America, and I'm not saying every company is like that, but the company that I worked for was very big on metrics. So I was judged on every little thing, you know, how fast I completed work, how many pieces of work I completed, the quality of my work, my grammar. It was just like every little thing was picked apart, and every day you were sent out an email of your numbers. And anyways, it was very like a micromanaging situation, which is fine. It's a job and I was getting paid for that, but it took a lot out of me. I was working 10-hour days, didn't get that much time off. When I started with the company, the vacation time you would get was 2 weeks off a year. And that was after the first year that you worked there, you would get that time. And then after 5 years of working at the company, I was eligible to get 3 weeks off a year, which to me was a lot of time. But when you look at Germany and you're seeing people are already getting like almost 30 days off a year, and that's just normal, makes you rethink some things. So that was a big pull for me. It's just now I'm in the situation where it's hard to find a job because, you know, to be honest, I don't have many qualifications that help me out here in Germany. That's another issue, that a lot of places that you want to work, they usually offer an Ausbildung, which is, I would compare that to an internship back home, where you really don't get paid a lot of money, and an internship, or sorry, an Ausbildung will usually last around, I don't know, 2 to 3 years, something like that. The issue though is that I am not at a level of German to do something like that, to get a qualification and potentially work for a specific company. So unfortunately, that's just not something I can do right now, but maybe in the future, maybe if I work really hard on the language, we'll see. But the work-life balance. So people really get to live their lives here in Germany. You know, everything is closed on Sunday. So people have Sundays off with their family, even if they work in a retail kind of position. They still get that day that they know it's off. They know they can rest. And I think because everything is closed on Sundays, you know, you can't really go shopping. You can't do anything. So what do? You spend time with your family, or you get outside. If you don't have a family, you get out there by yourself. You enjoy the outdoors and nature. And I think that that really helps health-wise. And you know, when you're talking about mental health and things like that, I think that can really be a positive thing. So I really enjoy that. And every time I'm out, you know, you see families together, you see couples. I mean, it's really interesting. You know, I think that in America, because we're so busy, we're working all the time, we're stressed out at our jobs, you know, at least a lot of people are. It's hard. You kind of forget these things, to do these things and to take time. And so it really leads to a lot of, you know, frustration, maybe even depression. I know personally I went through a lot of things that was very tough. So, you know, here in Germany, they really want to make sure, I think, that the people are taken care of and that people feel okay and they feel, you know, like they're living their lives and they're not just sitting behind a desk all the time or, you know, on their feet all day working hard. So People do work hard here in Germany, but, you know, their life doesn't totally revolve around their job. So I think that's really good. And so going back a little bit to the culture, how quiet it is here. I am not kidding when I say you will be in a major city walking around, and for the most part, you will not hear a thing. I mean, you will not really hear people talking. You won't hear children yelling. And at first, that was like weird to me. I was like, why does nobody talk? Why is it so quiet? And I remember I told my husband that it's like a deafening silence, which is very dramatic. I understand that that's dramatic, okay? But it was for me because in America, man, do people love to talk. Like I said, I'm from Virginia. I don't want to speak for the whole place, but people love to talk. As you can tell from this video, obviously I like to talk. So, and I'm considered a quieter person there. So, but, it was hard for me at first. I'm like, why is it so quiet? And now that I've been living here for almost a year, if I even hear like just a little bit of disturbance, I'm like, what is that? What's going on? I'm like already so annoyed with any kind of sound. So it's so funny that I feel like I really started to adjust more here. So it's really interesting. So yeah, transportation. We were talking about the school buses earlier, and in Germany, the public buses. It is so easy to get around Germany, and I think quite affordable from what my husband tells me. So everywhere you look in Germany, and I mean, you will think that you are in the middle of nowhere. You know, my husband has driven me some places where I'm like, no, how do people live out here? This is, and there's a bus station out there. And I'm like, okay, well, so it's very easy to get around Germany, which is really nice. I also think the buses look pretty nice too. But I've never personally used public transportation here. But from what I'm seeing, from what I see, it's very, they look really nice. And yeah, it seems relatively easy to navigate too. So that's really good. Yeah, the infrastructure. So Germany is interesting. So because Germany is so compact, they are really smart about fitting things, I guess in a smart way. So in Germany, you'll be driving and, you know, there's a little village, and there's always a church in the center of the village, which my husband says goes all the way back to medieval times. You know, the church was the center of the town, and that's how people knew where to go and all of that. So it's very beautiful. So you'll be like driving, there's a little village, and then there's like land, and then boom, there's a city. And then then it starts again, a little tiny village, there's some land, boom, another city. So it's really interesting how they worked everything, you know, and built everything to make it make sense. And that's just kind of how Germany is, a lot of villages and then random city. In America, we have these shopping centers. That's not really a thing in Germany. The stores that they have here, they do have some like franchise stores, like I mentioned, Kick and, you know, Action. I would say those types of stores are usually near like a mall, like a mall type of shopping center. But it's not quite like America. So, you know, in the US, we'll have these shopping centers, and they'll have Target, and they'll have a Walmart, and then they'll have some restaurants. And all of these shopping centers look similar, right? In the US, you know, you're driving around, you run into one of these shopping centers every now and then. It's just not like that in Germany. So that was hard for me to adjust to, actually, because I was used to my, you know, these types of centers that kind of had everything you need in a center, and it's not like that in Germany. And there's a lot of not too many franchises like what we have in the US. So, but yeah. And then another thing I noticed, going back to food really quick, I love creamer in my coffee. No, you cannot find creamer. Like the creamer that I'm talking about is like the French vanilla packed with sugar, like Coffee Mate or something like that. No, you can't find that in Germany. Germans don't like, as far as I know, okay, I'm sure some Germans like this, but A lot of people here do not like to put any kind of sugary creamer type of thing in their coffee, so you better learn to like your coffee black or with milk, or just leave it alone. So, oh my God, same thing with iced coffee. Oh, okay, I know I'm horrible, but I like iced coffee, especially the Starbucks iced coffees. They're so good. You are probably not going to find iced coffee here. I don't think I've even been to a Starbucks since I've been in Germany, but maybe at the airport. But they do not have iced coffee. It's just not a thing. My husband hates the idea of an iced coffee. He's like so against it. So, you know, I miss that. Oh, okay. Let's go on to minor things. What I would consider minor things, but they felt big to me, okay, for a while. The first thing that is maybe a minor thing is no air conditioning. Germany does not have air conditioning, and I mean nowhere. Like, I do not know of a place in Germany that has air conditioning, okay? And yeah, maybe Germany does not get so incredibly hot all the time, but they have hot summers, okay? Like, it does get hot here, and I'm just a person that I like it cold, okay? I like it cold. I get hot easily. I have a problem. I don't know, but my poor husband had to buy 2 air conditioners for me just to keep our relatively small, it's not really a small apartment, but like a relatively smaller apartment, cool, because I could not stand sweating in my own house, okay? Like, I cannot, I still struggle with this today. I'm like, why do they not just say, you know what, let's get some air conditioning? You know, anyways, I won't go too far into that, but yeah, no air conditioning. The ice thing, you know, most of the time I do not ask for ice because I don't want to be that person. But sometimes I do, because sometimes, you know, you just want like a cold drink, you know. But yeah, ice, not really a thing here. Sweet tea, I miss my sweet tea. Oh, I really miss Chick-fil-A. I don't know if any of y'all out there from the United States, you know what I'm talking about. You know Chick-fil-A, the Chick-fil-A sauce, the sweet tea. Yeah, they do not have that here. So I can tell you, the last time I went back to the United States to visit my family, I think I ate Chick-fil-A like 3 times in that 1 week. It was ridiculous. Yeah, but that's, God, I don't know. I think that's just about it. Like I said, the homesickness was probably the hardest thing for me, which at first made me start to kind of hate it here in Germany, but over time, I promise if you're going through that too, it does get easier. I was told this from the beginning too, but try your best not to compare one country to the other. They are just different, and what works in America, and what works in Germany works for Germany, and I promise you, you'll get used to it. Maybe you'll even start to like things better a little bit over here than you did back home. As far as the coldness of the people, that is just simply not a thing. They're not cold. That's just kind of like normal behavior here, that people aren't really, they're not going to get in your business. They're not going to try to bother you on the street. They just kind of let you live your life. And of course, if you needed help with something and you go up to somebody and say like, sprechen Sie English? Then most of the time they will try, if they know English, they will try to speak English with you. They will do what they can to help you. The German people are very kind and nice, and I think very deep feeling people. I would say they're not very superficial people. I have not met someone that I would perceive as superficial here, which is nice. And yeah, just give it a chance, and definitely if you can stay motivated, because I definitely struggle with this, but really try to learn the language as best as you can. Even if you can say just some simple sentences, that would be a good start. And sorry, this was more of a ramble video than it was organized, but that's just how my brain works. So thank you guys so much. If anyone stayed around to listen to the whole thing, thank you very much. If you have any questions or any comments or anything that you want to know about me, or about, like I said, my experience in Germany, please comment down below. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.